So welcome back everyone. Today we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the Boomerang Paragon in a similar fashion to how I did the Dart Paragon. If you missed that video, make sure to check it out. It's pretty analytical, and so will this one. So basically what I'm going to do first off is I'm going to start with a degree 1 Glaive Dominus on logs, and just see how long it can survive and then compare it with a degree 100. Again, I should note this is on a modded account, so that I can allow myself to get degree 100 Paragons in normal games, because you can't do it without co-op. You need multiple 5th tiers. So yeah, take a look at this. Round 100. Beats it in a decently quick amount of time. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not this can pass up the Dart Paragon. So the degree 1 Dart Paragon got to 138 on balance, and then 166 I believe with degree 100. Now I know balance is technically quote-unquote a shorter map, so I don't know if 138 is exactly what it would have gotten on logs, because the walls do help a lot in terms of the Dart's DPS. So perhaps we'll try that again another time. But anyways, back to the Boomerang Paragon. So let's go over the stats. This one's going to be more complicated than Dart because, well, there are 3 different things going on with this guy. First off is its Orbital Glaives. Second off is those hypersonic shooting glaives you see there. And third of all is the knockback. Basically the mob domination part of the Boomerang. We got all 3 aspects in this Paragon, which makes sense. So first off, let's start with the Hypersonic Glaive. So at degree 1, it shoots out 25 shots per second. 0.04 seconds is the attack delay. It does plus 20 base damage, 20 extra ceramic damage, 20 extra mob damage, 60 extra boss damage, 20 extra elite boss damage. On top of that, it can ricochet, sees camo, and hits any type of balloon. So it's interesting that the elite bonus is lower than the boss bonus. I assume they combine both when we're talking about elite balloon area, so it does plus 80 in total. Anyways, as for the heavy Kylie, it shoots out every 2.5 seconds, does 20 mob damage, 20 extra elite damage, has a crap ton of pierce, 300, huge amount of range, and then creates an explosion instead of turning back. So I think what that means is, let's slow down a bit, so you can see that the red spinning glaive, yeah, instead of returning back to the Boomerang, it'll basically stay there for a little bit, and then explode. As for the stats of the explosion, it does 100 damage, can pierce up to 20 balloons, and applies a burn status. And the burn lasts for 4 seconds, it does 50 mob damage, for a total of 200 damage. So far looking good. Yeah, it looks like we'll be at 119 pretty easily here. I think what I'm most scared about is 140, because it's got a fortified bad, and if normal bad's got this far in the track, just try to imagine that, and 2 times further in the track. And on top of that, well, more HP later on in the game. So I'm not quite sure whether or not this guy can survive that round, but guess we'll see in 20 rounds. As I said in my initial Boomerang Paragon video, I think I mentioned that its DPS against everything but a bad is pretty damn good. So I don't expect there to be any problems, well, until 140. Also, some additional advanced info on the knockback. Apparently it pushes back mobs 3 units, BFB 1.5, DDs and ZMGs half of that amount, and all balloon types cannot move for 0.25 seconds after getting knocked back. So let me slow down here, see the DDs. Very tiny amount of knockback, and yeah. It's hard to tell like a quarter of a second stun, but I do believe it is there. I don't quite know if the mob press or the mob domination also has a quote-unquote miniature stun, because I thought all along it was just a knockback. I'm pretty sure it's just unique to the Boomerang Paragon. Anyways, as for the third stat, the Orbital Glaives, these guys have 20 damage, 20 extra ceramic damage, 20 extra mob damage, plus 2 fortified balloon damage, a whopping 160 boss damage, 40 extra elite damage, basically infinite pierce with 1000, and it ticks 10 times per second. So those are the stats for the degree 1 Paragon, in case you're curious. As for how it stacks up to the degree 100, I will show the graphs in a little bit, just like I did with the Dart Paragon. I will say though that the curves are roughly the same, so don't expect too much out of the ordinary. So again, I'd like to thank Epic Alex on Reddit for providing all the graphs and the info on this Paragon. The exact stats are much appreciated. Also, one more thing to note while this game is going on, the Boomerang Paragon actually inherits the DOT effect from the Glaive Lord. And the Glaive's DOT effect actually got reworked this patch. Before, it used to stack, so if you had the boomerang shoot like 100 times, it would apply the damage over time effect on a balloon 100 times. Well, now they changed it so that the DOT only stacks once, so if you, attack the same balloon with that DOT effect, it'll just refresh the duration of it. And to compensate, it does a lot more damage. The reason why I bring this up is because there's stats on the, mob damage over time for the boomerang. So here's the stats. It lasts 15.1 seconds. Here is why the 0.1 at the end. And it does 250 damage per second. So that really helps for, bads. Speaking of bads, here's the fortified one. Let's see what it can do. So far, it's not looking good. I'm pretty sure we're dead. Yeah, it's game over. We only got 20%, at the point where we killed the non-fortified bad on 119. But I guess it's a good thing, knowing that a degree 100 Paragon will for sure be able to beat this bad, because it's definitely a magnitude stronger than a degree 1. So we're gonna die here. Forgot to set the lives to 1, but you get the point. So let's go back and start a new game to get the degree 100. Alright, so for those of you who need a refresher, or actually never knew this before, here is how you get a degree 100 Paragon. You need to be in 4-player co-op. Here I have it simulated with 4 of each tier 5. You'll need 100 upgrades of non-tier 5 towers, so I have 17 cross-path 240 boomerangs here. That'll put me over 100. You'll need 16.2 million pops, so I should probably get that started, because it'll take about till round 135 to get that amount of pops. And lastly, you need 250k invested in boomerangs that aren't the original 3 tier 5 boomerangs. So basically, with co-op, you don't have to worry about that requirement, because the other tier 5s will probably already equal to over 250k. So 136, I believe it is time. 3, 2, 1, Glaive Dominus. And as you see, that is indeed a degree 100 Paragon. Now we're going to sell every tower, and we're going to see how long this can solo. Also, in case you didn't realize, the art changes between degree 1 and degree 100. This one is very obvious because the projectile of the glaive is just so much more bright. That is like emerald green. Honestly, I feel like the level 100 Dark Paragon was pretty underwhelming. This one, I think, definitely blows it out of the water. So let's just take a look at 138 here. I believe the degree 1 Paragon let DTs get pretty damn far on the track, more than halfway. This one isn't even getting it past Ben 2. Just the knockback is just keeping it there. Which makes sense because the knockback rate is increased for degree 100. And if you want to know the exact rate, well, I think it's a good time to look at the graphs. Caution, there are going to be a crap ton of them compared to the dart because, well, there's more things here. So I'll probably speedrun it. Before that, I think we'll take a look at 140. Fortified bad here. Looks like we're definitely going to beat it. Yep, 20% right by the second bend. Oh yeah, absolute annihilation right here, folks. And that ricochet is huge, by the way. It's getting it from across the map. And then, yeah. Didn't even get past halfway. So this bodes well for the rest of the game, I feel like. Alright, so just how much stronger is the boomerang? Let's take a look. First off, the main attack, the Emerald Glaives. So this first graph depicts boss damage versus degree. So starting at 60 bonus for degree 1, up to 280 or something like that for degree 100, with spikes every 20 degrees or so. Main damage versus degree, 2.5 times stronger, from 20 to 50. Definitely adds up when you shoot, like, over 25 times per second. Here's the extra elite boss damage. This one's actually pretty nutty. It goes from a measly 20 damage bonus to over 300. And just like the Dark Paragon, a huge spike from 19 to 20. So you better make sure you get at least degree 20 Paragon when you do Balloon Ares. Here's the Pierce for the Glaive versus degree. Basically doesn't matter because there aren't that many balloons late game in the first place. And here's the attack speed. It goes from a 0.04 second delay per attack to like 0.023. Also, I should correct myself from the Dark Paragon video. The attack speed increase is actually linear because right now you're looking at seconds per attack. But if you translate this graph to show attacks per second, then it'll look like a straight line instead of a curve. Alright, now for the spinning orbitals. This one goes from 100 boss damage to over 700 at degree 100. Again, common theme is spikes every 20 degrees. Here's the Orbital's damage, 2.5, 20 to 50. Here's the Elite Boss damage from just like 40, 50, all the way to over 800. Here's the Orbital's Pierce versus Degree. This one's definitely the most useless graph you'll ever need. And here's the Orbital's Rate versus Degree. Again, it's technically linear in terms of the attacks per second increase. Close to double the amount of ticks. Now let's take a look at the Moet Press. So this one surprisingly goes from 0 bonus damage for bosses up to 50. And I guess this graph is pretty useless. Press damage goes from 1 to 12. Yeah, man, that 11 extra damage every 2 seconds is going to make a huge difference on round 200. Here's the press explosion damage. This one's more important because it's the explosion that does damage, not really the press attack itself. So it goes from 60 all the way to nearly 300. Spikes every 20 or so. Here's the explosion damage to elite bosses. Goes from 20 all the way to nearly 350. And lastly, the press rate versus degree. Again, the attack speed increase for the orbitals, the Molt Press, and the main attack. It's pretty much all the same. They're all nearly twice as fast. Alright, and that's it for the graphs. I told you there was a lot. Now, as for how we're doing in the late 150s here, honestly, not too great. Well, because, as I told you, the bad damage for the Boomerang Paragon isn't quite as good as the Dart Paragon. However, it does excel at beating everything else, especially if there's group stuff. You see normal bads here are getting past halfway, so basically the moment we run into a fortified bad, which is pretty much down to RNG, well, that's gonna indicate where we're gonna die. The good news is that even this late into game, we can basically perma-stun ZMGs and BFBs. Just take a look at that. One bad left should be easily doable, but very concerning because, well, it's only one bad, and it got to pretty much the second last bend. Makes me kind of worried. I think what I should do, actually, is put this on strong, because, well, the ricochet, it'll ricochet on anything anyways, so it doesn't matter putting on it first. What I need is to have that DOT effect on the strongest balloon. So that's going to help us immensely in trying to squeeze out every last bit out of this stuff. Actually, I have the micro. I'm going to put it on first because I don't think the Molt Press is still going to target the bad. So I'm going to need to put it on first to knock back the balloons it's actually going to work on. Holy crap, there are 4 bads in this one. Alright, this is going to be a very interesting test. Again, it must be on strong, maybe first for a little bit. Oh, no, we got DTs. Just barely, though. I may need to put on first, though, because I think there's going to be multiple... Yeah, there's multiple DTs right now. Put in first for a little bit. Back to strong. If I get that 4th one, then we're going to be looking good. There we go. I think we'll still be able to clutch this up. Right? Yeah. It's really just the bads that you can't affect with the knockback, but... Again, this late in. Knockback still works in doing negative speed. So 171 here. This bad is getting pretty darn far. Back to first. This one's gonna pop very late. I'm not sure if you have this one. DDTs. Ouch. I think this run only had 2 bads, so that's actually kind of surprising that we couldn't beat it. Yeah, only 2 bads. So I'm just gonna this time use less on first for the last bad, but I gotta put in first for DTs here. Otherwise I die. And I still need to have these ZMGs knocked back, so a couple shots on first sometimes. I hope we can beat these mobs here good. So it's gonna be at first now. Come on, DDTs. Still can't do it. Wow, is this the end, really? It's very close, but there's not much I can really change. Alright, experiment. We just left it on strong the entire time, and we actually beat that. Okay, so DTs pop earlier this time. There we go. So, like, that was it. Just leave it on strong, and surprisingly, you can just shred the ZMGs left over with the orbitals. Good to know. We live to see another round. I can tell that we're not going to last much longer, especially this round. I think this round's, like, absolutely no way. 5 bads? You're crazy. Yeah, there's no way. Well, at least it's good to know that we died to a round that's not even close versus, like, not knowing whether or not a round's doable just because it looks so close. So yeah, 173 with a boomerang on logs. 33 rounds better than degree 1. So I think that's all I have to cover in this one for the Glaive Dominus. Hope you learned a thing or two, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, hope you followed what shows on the top right of the screen. And of course, stay tuned for more content I have on this beautiful game. See y'all in the next one.